Hello and welcome to Walk the Pod, your daily walking show where I take my podcast for a walk because I don't have a dog. You're very welcome along. This is series 51, episode 8. And you find me a little bit north of where I normally am today because I've come into North London, Islington, Northampton Square to have a little wander around the Northampton Square park here. I mean, I didn't come for that, I'll be honest. I came for a work thing, but I thought I would wander around the park and record the pod here because it's a park and all walking is valid, no matter whether you're in the original park that you normally walk around, the bike track that you started the podcast on in 2020, or a brand new venue. And what's lovely is that I can record with very little fuss, given that I just record this on my mobile phone. So we're going to continue exploring our theme of friendship today. We've got a couple of episodes left, so I feel pressure to get everything I want to say about friendship in the next 2 episodes, and then we'll be wrapping up the series on Friday. Welcome to Walk the Pod. So, what is there left to say about friendship? Having established that society doesn't value it enough, and yet it could improve your mortality. Your actual lifespan could be extended by good social networks, which is pretty astonishing, really, isn't it? So I think now I want to turn to thinking about what good friendships look like. We've already established that they can be very, very different for different people. They can be very, very different for individuals between one friendship and another. I consider myself to have 1 or 2 friends who I might not see for decades, and yet we would almost certainly pick up as if we never left off. And other friendships which are ones where I spend an enormous amount more time with them, and both are valued very highly. So that's one of the things we've already covered this series. Another thing I think it's worth touching on is the value of boundaries in friendship, because being clear about what the boundaries of our friendships are is probably the key to very, very healthy relationships. I mean, that's the case for any relationship, but particularly friendships, because society has not laid down any rules for us about these in the same way that it sort of is attempting to do with other kinds of relationship, mostly romantic ones, but also work ones and also professional ones. Society will tell us what is appropriate to say to a police officer, one's solicitor, one's boss, and yet society doesn't have very much to say on what the boundaries of friendship should be. And indeed, I think it needs carefully working out person to person. And sometimes that involves an element of repair. If I say to somebody, look, I know you want to chat all day on WhatsApp, but I actually can't sustain that. I need to focus on work. I can't do both at once, as some people do. Then we may also have to offer some reassurance to that person that you do still highly value their friendship, even if you can't spend as much time chatting with them in digital forums as you would like. Or you might have to say, look, I would love to spend loads of time with you, but I actually don't have all that much time. So if you want to hang out, it's going to have to be every so often, not every week. Or you might have to negotiate on mutual friends and whether those are going to be friends of yours and friends of theirs or not. And whether you want to all hang out together or not, or whether you want to spend time deep in conversation, or whether you want to spend time playing board games together. There is a really fascinating thing about energy with friends where you can spend a little bit of time having hung out with somebody, considering whether you feel drained or energized. And that's got something to do with how your brain is wired, I think. If you're an extrovert, you're likely to respond very differently to spending time with a friend than if you're an introvert. But there are also differences between different friends. So as an introvert, you may find that you feel oddly elevated and energized by talking to a particular person, but not another. And what's going on there? That might be an indication that there's something more going on there. Maybe you're actually attracted to the person. Maybe this is not a friend relationship. Maybe this is a romantic relationship in the making. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot to think about if you want to engage with that kind of thought process. Now, that's for people who like to think about things. Many people will never give any of this any thought. And those people probably have lots of friends and float around with many, many people wanting to spend time with them. But it is just one of the fascinating facets of this topic that I would like to just simply chuck up in the air as if I'm playing volleyball with you, dear friends, and just see whether that makes you think of anything, whether that resonates with you, whether you have any reflections on that or any personal experience that you'd like to let me know about in terms of your own friendships, things you're working on, things it makes you realise, or if you think I'm completely wrong, that is also valid. And for people who leave me voice notes, you can always let me know in the voice note that it's not for broadcast if you want to just leave me your personal reflections. I will never put anything in the podcast that you don't want me to. However, if you send me a voice note and don't say this isn't for broadcast, I may assume it is if it's on topic. So just bear that in mind, dear friends. What can I see directly in front of me? Well, one thing I want to say to you all, particularly those who've listened to the podcast for a long time, particularly those who know me quite well, is to say thank you to everybody who has asked whether my breathing is okay. It is getting worse. However, I want to reassure you that this is actually expected. I have a condition called subglottic stenosis, which means my windpipe narrows over time. I have to have it treated every couple of years. And I'm getting towards the point where I need it treated, so it's sounding a little bit worse than normal. But I'm okay, and I'm in very good hands with a consultant at Charing Cross Hospital who is completely aware of my situation. And if I sound a little bit like I'm having difficulty breathing sometimes, that's probably why. So do not worry. I'm not going to end up getting into trouble like I did a couple of years ago when I didn't know what it was. and listeners to the show were experiencing me walking around going, why can't I breathe properly? This is very strange. It's a little bit of an eggy situation, but I've had a diagnosis now. I know what the prognosis of this is, and I know how to get treated for it, and it will all be fine, so don't worry. Also, completely appreciate that it's a difficult listening to somebody speaking who can't quite breathe properly. So I am doing my saline inhalations every day in order to try to make the podcast audible for you. And when I have my next treatment, it should clear up for a good couple of years until it gets bad again. This is what I am dealing with. I don't know how many other people are dealing with this. Slightly odd thing to have to cope with. Anyway. What can I see directly in front of me has not been covered so far. I'm walking through crunchy leaves, which is very autumnal and lovely. Many of them are brown. I've got every shade of brown and orange here. And This is the sound effect of an autumn walk, which is glorious. And it's not too cold at the moment, so it's actually, you get the best of the crunching through the leaves without the accompanying freezing air temperature. So it's lovely in Northampton Square, and I'm looking upon university buildings that I'm trying to get to know, because these are the university buildings that now are attached to the one I work in. So we're all one big happy family, and I'm trying to learn the names of the buildings because the university I work for is much bigger than it used to be. So I'm just doing a little bit of memorization as I walk around. And if you're following the podcast on Google Maps, as I know some of you do, Northampton Square is North London. So if you're near the Angel tube station and looking at the area that is, broadly speaking, Islington, you're in the right place. Thank you for walking with me, dear friends. It's been an absolute delight to stretch my legs with you this lunchtime, walking around a square in North London for once. Absolutely privileged to speak to you as ever, so thank you for walking with me. Thank you for listening. Take care of your beautiful mind, yourselves and each other, and I'll be back with episode 9, our penultimate episode of the series, tomorrow.